And welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is the specters of the past. And we can often be visited by memories that carry all kinds of emotional baggage with them. And that's what we're going to talk about today, and how those memories that arise are really an invitation for us to heal. So before we get started, let's take a minute or two to get present. Let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale, exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant, bright light lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, and energizing all your cells, your molecules, your electrons, creating a brilliant beam of light and energy from your heart out into the world. And as you exhale, exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's press our palms together. Vigorously rub your hands together to feel the friction, the temperature, the pressure, the motion, the tickling and tingling when you stop. And allow all those sensations to bring you present right here, right now, into this remarkable physical form that enables us to experience life. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So, we are looking at specters of the past. And I don't know about you, but every now and then I get floods of memories that just sort of invade my space at certain, sometimes more than others. I don't know what provokes it, but where one memory leads to another memory, and we can go down memory lane, and it's not always a picnic. We might be remembering moments that were awkward or painful or shameful, or that still stir anger or hurt or resentment. Of course, we can have positive memories too, and those are great to nourish and nurture. But right now we're talking about the memories that make us wince in one way or another, or stir the pot in a really big way. And what I want to say about these memories arising, or these thoughts and the attendant emotions, is that when they arise, it's an opportunity, it's an invitation for us to heal those wounds. And this is something that I see in the core connection work that I do. And I see this routinely. It's really quite remarkable that when something, and I say that when something comes up, it's coming up to heal. And what I see is that when we allow ourselves to experience the emotion that we have, rather than trying to fend it off, rather than resisting it or denying it or burying it, when we allow ourselves to experience the emotions without story, that's sort of a critical point. Like, to experience the physicalness of those emotions, to experience what the sensation of the emotion is, to identify where that sensation is localized in our bodies. And most often it is, which is a very interesting thing. When we allow ourselves to experience the emotion, and sometimes even create a representation for it. So make an image of it, or maybe if you're not particularly visual, a soundtrack for it. If we allow ourselves to be present to it, the experience of it, what happens is it dissipates. And if we have memories that still make us cringe or make us angry or make us sad, what we need to look at is, one, what is the story that is attendant to that emotion? For instance, what are the things that we're telling ourselves that are helping to conjure that emotion? So we might be leveling judgment upon ourselves. We might be saying, wow, what a stupid thing to say. Those people must think this. I can't believe I did this, that, or the other thing. What are the stories? And notice that the likelihood is, if anybody told themselves the story that you're telling yourself about that thing that's stirring these negative emotions or these painful emotions, that other people would probably feel the same way. Look at the story. And the invitation here is to be able to revisit these memories and these instances in the past with a compassion, with a curiosity, and look at the bigger picture so that you can have a new perspective, first off, on that situation. And also, by interacting directly with the emotion itself, allowing ourselves to experience it, maybe creating an image of it and observing that image without making more stories about it, what happens is that it starts to dissipate, it starts to dissolve, it actually moves on its own. And what holds these emotions and the power of them in place is often our resistance to them, trying to bury them. So what's happening is we're putting all this energy that is actually keeping that emotion locked away. Now we can recognize that we are energetic beings, and emotion is energy in motion. And so when we stifle it, when we press it down, when we deny it, what's happening is that we're kind of concentrating that energy and locking it into this compressed form. And as a result of that, we can suffer the consequences of it when we revisit it. It's like a super high energy, like a supernova sometimes, when we can just reaccess this emotion and it just bubbles up like a volcano. And when we have that experience, we can consider that issue, that emotion, that circumstance, whatever, that trauma is coming up to heal. It's an opportunity. We can see all of these emotional expressions as opportunities to heal and to step more fully into our wholeness. So what happens so often is that we've been taught to exile parts of ourselves. We've been taught to stifle our emotion. We've been taught to ignore our feelings and tough it out, just push past it. And that if we have our emotions, if we experience our emotions, it's a sign of weakness. You're too emotional, you're too sensitive. Don't let everything get to you. Gird yourself against life, right? That's what we're taught in so many ways. And what we get to look at is that all of that suppression and repression is energy that is being suppressed and repressed, is parts of ourselves that we are separating ourselves from. So we don't have the access to our wholeness that is available if we allow ourselves to experience our experiences. Good morning, Rosalind. Welcome. So good to have you here with us. So we're talking about specters of the past, and we're talking about how we can have these memories that stir all kinds of emotion in a very, very active way, often in an explosive way, where we become overcome by emotion. So what we're talking about here, as far as dealing with the past, because if we don't deal with the past, what happens is we project it into our future. And we don't want to be living out of the past. We want to be using the opportunities that we have to heal so that we can go into the future as a greater whole, as a fully functioning being. So what we're talking about is that there are several ways that we can address issues of the past. First of all, recognize that it's coming up to heal. It's coming up as an opportunity to heal. What we get to do, what's most effective in my experience so far, is that if we can observe without judgment, oftentimes we'll have these things that arise from the past, and then we'll use them as an opportunity to berate ourselves or put ourselves down or villainize ourselves, or we exile the whole thing and repress and suppress it. But instead of doing that, what we can do is look at what is the story that we're telling ourselves. What is the language that we're using around that event that may have created shame or rage or sadness? So let's look at the story. What happens is that we condition ourselves with these stories. We don't even hear ourselves giving ourselves those stories. We don't hear ourselves giving ourselves the judgment that we give ourselves. And what if we were able to step back, release the judgment, and shift the story? So one of the things we talk about so much here is how important it is to curate your story. And so I wonder if you might be looking at a situation from the past that you can create a new story around. Sometimes it's important first to relieve the emotion. So being present to the emotion, allowing ourselves to experience the sensation of it, the physical sensation of it. So if we feel anger, where might that anger be in our body? Where do we sense it? And how does that show up? Maybe it shows up as a clenching or a pressure or a weight. And if that's the case, we can create a visual representation or an auditory representation, some kind of representation of that experience that then allows us to interact with that representation. And as we observe that representation, the simple fact of making it can shift the experience of the emotion. And then as that emotion shifts, the representation shifts. Things about it change, like maybe the edges become less sharp. If it's, for instance, I often have people experiencing something like a black tar kind of sludge. And what happens is oftentimes that as they're present to the experience of that black tar, it may start moving, or it may start getting lighter or less thick. And what happens is if you bounce back and forth between noticing what's happening with the emotion and what's happening with the representation, that it's sort of a progressive thing where this transformation starts taking place. And what's remarkable is that as this transformation is happening, the story itself can shift. Like the story itself ends up having less impact. The story itself becomes something that is more distant. So some other things that we can do to be shifting and healing and dissolving these really powerful triggers, experiences, memories from the past is we often are playing a movie over and over again, and it's often very vivid and very bright colors, very close up oftentimes. And what we can do is play with what are called the submodalities of that, which is a neurolinguistic programming NLP term. But if something is in vivid color and in your face, what you can do is see it in black and white. Allow yourself to see it in black and white. And notice that most often what will happen is that the emotion is lessened. See it more at a distance. And interestingly, what I notice as people are processing through these emotions that they're experiencing, afterwards, the image that they had as a representation automatically is in the distance, or it gets smaller. That's another thing that we can do. If something's really big and in your face, you can maybe make it be further away and shrink it down, make it black and white. If there's a soundtrack, you know, you might be hearing certain people saying things that were really hurtful. Well, you could put a soundtrack underneath it of something funny, or you could change the tone of their voice or the speed so that they sound like a cartoon character. And all of these things, shifting the representation that we have of these painful memories, these specters of the past, shifting the way that we represent the experience also has the effect of shifting the emotions. And the point here is, well, multi faceted here. One is, the big point is that we really do have so much power over the way we experience the world. We have so much ability to radically transform our experience. We do it all the time. We just don't do it consciously. We do it by telling ourselves stories. Most often, the stories we tell ourselves are disempowering rather than empowering. It's really interesting. I was talking to a client the other day about keeping a journal. One of the things I have people do is keep a journal of breakthroughs, like a bullet list that they can revisit, so that they know they're making progress, so that they can really celebrate their wins. And this one person said, well, I just have such a big resistance to that. It feels like hubris. And I said, well, do you have any problem? Do you have any trouble beating yourself up, criticizing yourself for things that you're not happy about? And they said no, that they can criticize themselves anytime. I said, so if you can criticize yourself, why can't you acknowledge yourself, or give recognition to something that's positive, right? If we can challenge ourselves to say that we need to do better about certain things, don't we also get to recognize when we have achieved something, when we have done a good job, to get recognition? And it was very interesting. For the same person, I said, did you give your children recognition when they did a good job? When they did well, did you acknowledge them? And they said yes. I said, so why would you not give yourself the same acknowledgement, the same recognition, the same appreciation? And so curating our stories is a very, very, very important thing to do. So the number one point, we do have the ability to impact our experience. And really, the past is quite mutable. And that may sound like a really crazy thing to say, but the past exists in the present when we keep recreating it. When we bring our memories forward, we're recreating the past. And the truth is that our memories are quite fallible. And we can create new experiences of our experiences in the past, because we're carrying them forward. We are recreating them. When we're remembering something, we are remembering it. We are reassembling it right now, right here in the present. And the way that we reassemble it, that then becomes the new memory. And we can keep reinforcing the negative memory or the negative story, or we can curate and generate one that's more empowering. So the specters of the past are showing up as an opportunity for healing, as a request and an invitation for healing. And we get to welcome them for the opportunity they present. And by bringing ourselves present to that healing, dissolving the triggers, dissolving the shame, the guilt, the hurt, the anger. What we are gifting ourselves with is a greater wholeness to move forward with into our fuller expression. So that's it for today. I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection. And I go live here each weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page and YouTube channel. And I invite you to please like and share Enlightened World Network and my YouTube channel as well. The links are in the description. And as always, so much gratitude and appreciation for the opportunity to be with you and to have these musings about what it is to be human. Dido, thanks so much for being with us this morning, and so much love. Until next time.